It's Mark Medina with the LA Times Lakers blog, and we're here for another edition of Lakers Roundtable. And the Lakers visit the Portland Trailblazers on Thursday, and I got very lucky with finding our next guest. This person has both lived in Los Angeles and in Portland, and this person's covered both the Lakers and the Blazers. And each team that he's covered, at that time, his audience was considered the smartest NBA fans in the country. So, of course, we're talking about none other than the Columbian's Blazers beat writer, Matt Calkins.
When do they call the Laker fans the smartest fans in the country?
Well, that's my segue into this first question. I read it in one of your columns recently. This is about Brandon Roy's retirement. You wrote in that column that Portland is the most knowledgeable basketball city in the country.
Yeah,
so what do you say to all these offended Angelinos out there that are cheering for the purple and gold and now Lob City?
I said knowledgeable. That was the four-syllable word. I don't think they understood that. No.
So you're saying the Laker and Clipper fans aren't knowledgeable?
No, there's a few of them out there. I'm just going per capita. If you've been in the Rose Garden and you read some of the blogs and you read when they cheer, you don't read when they cheer, but you hear when they cheer and what they're cheering for and what they're talking about. I mean, they're breaking down salary caps. They're breaking down, efficiency rating, all these kinds of things. And I've just been really impressed with it. And, I'm not, trying to win anybody over here. And I think this is pretty knowledgeable sports cities. I think Boston's among them. And I think LA is actually very underrated for their sports knowledge. I think the typical outsider says, they just show up in the second quarter and leave halfway through the fourth. But no, they're smart. But, I think there might be some more superficial concerns among the average Angelino fan than there is in Portland. But I'd be happy to be proven wrong.
Okay. Well, we'll see coming into Thursday's game whether the Lakers prove that, the Blazers' 4-1 record is not a big deal, or if they're continue to prove that they're just a middle-of-the-pack type team. They have a 4-3 record right now. And I know with Portland's strong start, Nate McMillan doesn't sound too impressed since the beginning of the season, but is there anything that impresses you about it?
I think, I've been very impressed by them because, first of all, I think the Detroit Lions started off 6-1 or something 4 or 5 years ago, and everybody was talking about the reasons why. Is it their faith? Is it, their spirituality? And this is the big story in the NFL, and they ended up losing, I think, 8 of their next 9 games and went 0-16 the next year. So you never want to get too overexcited, but this is a team that lost their superstar, which broke the hearts of fans throughout Portland because Brandon Roy really was the guy who revitalized the franchise, both with his skill set and his character. And I think people went, whoa, we lost this guy. And just feeling that concrete loss, really hurt people here. But in another sense, I think it was the best thing that happened to them because they weren't wondering whether Brandon Roy was going to be there or not. They weren't, deciding whether to run the offense through him or LaMarcus Aldridge. And they were able to pick up Jamal Crawford. And this is a team that has very good players, but not that big-name superstar, like a Kobe Bryant or LeBron James. And it's sort of reminiscent of Denver last year when they lose Carmelo. And they end up going 17-5 the rest of the season because they are playing as a team. And I see a lot of that in this Blazer team. Are they going to stay on top of the West? I don't think so. But if they were able to get a 4th seed or something like that, I don't think that's inconceivable.
Well, Magic Johnson is saying that Portland's going to be one of the sleeper teams in the West along with Denver. What say you?
Magic Johnson's just proving he's just not a very knowledgeable NBA fan.
Wow. Matt Calkins throwing the darts at a Laker legend. No, I mean, I think that word sleeper is, I don't necessarily know what that means. I mean, I think that's easy to say. I mean, this was a 6th seed last year who, played really well. They were sort of in that 4-team race at the bottom of the Western Conference, or the Western Conference playoff race, I should say, battling it out for a 5 seed, Denver and Memphis and New Orleans. So, yeah, I mean, I think it's safe to say they're a sleeper team considering they went 6 games to the eventual champions. But
I think it's possible that, that they're a little bit more than a sleeper team. I think they're starting to emerge, and it's so early in the season that you can never tell. But, I think in a lot of people's minds, they're emerging not just as a sleeper team, but as a contender. Are they championship caliber? No. But could they host a playoff series and win one? I think absolutely they could.
We're talking with the Columbian's Blazers beat writer Matt Calkins. You can follow him on Twitter at Blazer Banner, and I hope this doesn't result in people unfollowing you. Hopefully this gives you a few extra followers after the plug.
If I have 300 followers tomorrow, we know that this roundtable is resonating.
And do I get some type of commission out of that?
I think you would. Make me a little looser, and when I throw a comment out there, I'm not worried about 2,000 people coming at me.
All right,
it'd be liberating.
Let's talk about the details later on as far as compensation goes. But, you talked about how they've, almost become a better team in some sense of the word, even with Brandon Roy's retirement. Specifically LaMarcus Aldridge and Raymond Felton. Their chemistry as far as developing the pick and roll, how have you seen that evolve so far?
Well, that's one of those things that's going to take time, because we looked at a guy like Andre Miller last year, who a lot of people consider, and this is, including John Stockton and all these great point guards, one of the best lob passers, if not the best lob passer to ever grace the NBA. And he and LaMarcus would run that pick and roll to perfection. LaMarcus getting all these alley-oops. I think he was fourth in dunks last year. But Raymond kind of brings a little bit of a different style to it. You see a lot more bounce passes. You see a lot more speed with Raymond Felton. And it's not just the pick and rolls with LaMarcus that's playing well. It's the pace of play. Portland, since Nate McMillan took over, was either 29th or 30th in the NBA in possessions per game. There's only 30 teams in there, so a knowledgeable fan base or not, I think you can figure out that's pretty low. As of 2 days ago, they were fourth in the league. They hiked up 97 shots in their first game, and a lot of that is a direct result of Raymond Felton. So the chemistry between he and LaMarcus is developing. I think they really like playing with each other. That's the sense I'm getting in the locker room and in practice. But it's also just a lot more entertaining brand of basketball to watch these guys fly up and down the court. And you're not going to see 97 shots every game. But that kind of pace of play, I think you have to give Nate McMillan kudos for sort of, parting ways with what he's used to and taking a chance on a new style. Through 5 games, it's been working.
How have they been able to make that transition so seamlessly?
Well, Nate says, the point guard dictates your pace of play, and I think a lot of that's what it is. So that's part of it. And they have a runner in Raymond Felton. I'm not sure how much you saw of Andre Miller. He's the ultimate acquired taste in basketball. Once he left, he got a standing ovation when he came here, when Denver came the other day. But he had a hard time. He had 52 points one game. He had some amazing plays. He had a hard time telling what was the real play and what was the, slow motion replay. And he was just so methodical and slow with it. But they give the ball to Raymond Felton, and they just go. And you ask, how are they able to do it so seamlessly? Because they have runners. They have Wesley Matthews, who loves to run in the open court. They have Gerald Wallace, who's one of the best fast break forwards in the game. Show me a forward that can steal from Marcus Aldridge in the open court, and I'll be impressed, because I'm not sure I've seen him yet. Lamar Odom was up there in terms of speed, but he's so quick. So when they have the horses, they say go ahead and go. And considering you got Jamal Crawford and Nick Batum coming off the bench, who are certainly not power players by any means, but love to run and gun, then I think it'd almost be foolish not to embrace that and not to let you guys go.
What parts of their early season success do you think will even out pretty soon?
Well, we're only 5 games in, and I was writing in advance today. My first sentence was, if the playoffs started today, and then I just kind of trailed off and said, never mind, because that's ridiculous. 4-1.
It isn't ridiculous, though. The All-Star ballot was released today.
Yeah, I know. I was just thinking that. 5 games in, the Blazers have 6. How many people made it from the Lakers? We got 6 from the Blazers.
Kobe Bryant, Pau Gasol, Andrew Bynum, and Meta World Peace.
They snuck Meta in there? All right, cool.
They stuck Meta in there. This
Deservedly so.
This is his rookie debut. He might be able to get it as a rookie.
That's true. I forgot. Competing for Rookie of the Year with Kyrie. That's cool.
Right. Is it too early to ask if LaMarcus Aldridge can make the All-Star team?
No, it's definitely not too early to ask that. But, in terms of what's going to even out, the Mavericks are 2-4 right now. Does anybody really expect that to last? Boston's 3-3. They're not a 500 team. Indiana, I think, was 4-1 or something. They're losing to the Heat by 22 last time I checked. So I think it's too early to really draw any conclusions. I know that the Blazers still struggle as an internal defense team. They're not a great shooting team, and they don't have that absolute superstar to rely on, which sometimes you need just to withstand or to get out of a slump sometimes. But they do have LaMarcus Aldridge, who a lot of people think was robbed of an all-star spot last year. I don't necessarily think so, because I thought Kevin Love had a great first half of the season. But this guy made third-team All-NBA at the end of the year. LaMarcus did. That's top 15 players in the league, let alone top 12 in the West. So, yeah, I would say he is probably the strongest contender in the Western Conference, or possibly the league, to make his first All-Star game. And if he does it, I don't think it's going to surprise very many people.
So from a matchup standpoint, with this the Lakers Blazers game on Thursday, what should Portland be most concerned about?
Well, I think probably Andrew Bynum. As I mentioned, their internal defense does leave something to be desired. Although Marcus Camby has had a phenomenal year. He shoots about 2 shots every game. He always misses the first one. I think it's in his contract that he's allowed to shoot like a 19-footer within the first minute and miss it and just get out of the way. But that's all he takes, and he's been doing a great job defensively. However, when you got Gasol and you got Bynum down there, I mean, they're the Lakers' length. It scares every single team. And throughout the course of the game, I'm not sure that Portland has the depth to contend with those guys. And also, Kobe Bryant just kills the Lakers every time he comes to town. Kevin Durant is just the opposite. We were talking about that the other day. Every time he plays Portland, he struggles, but it seems like Kobe just goes wild. I mean, he brought him back from like a 6-point deficit in 45 seconds last year, something like that, and ended up taking it to overtime and beating the Blazers. So until Portland's able to shut him down, I think Kobe's always the concern anytime LA comes to town for any team.
Now, I know, obviously, the Lakers ended that losing streak to the Rose Garden, but before that time, I noticed that there was a pretty effective strategy, even though it's obviously different personnel, different years and circumstances, where one of the keys that they did when the Lakers met them at the Rose Garden was goading Bryant into one of those gunner nights, and considering his right wrist and the fact that, before yesterday's game where he scored 37 points against Houston, he shot horribly against Denver. Is that a viable strategy at this point?
Well, Kobe, you know him better than I do, but he strikes me as one of those guys where if you do goad him and say, go ahead and beat me from there, not only is he going to embrace that opportunity, but he's going to want to prove you wrong and say, hey, you shouldn't be leaving me open like this. I think there might be a little bit of stubbornness. And if there is an Achilles heel for Kobe, it's wanting to prove somebody wrong, maybe to his team's detriment. With Kobe Bryant, you have to pick your poison. I know that's kind of a cliche. But, if you're going to have anybody beat you, have it do with your jump shot first. Lay off him. If he can't hit it, it's like playing someone in 21, right? Let him shoot that three. Let him shoot that three until they hit it. You got to prove it to me, before I'm going to exert myself and play any defense. So, yeah, I think that is the strategy with Kobe, but come on, this guy's, 5th in the all-time scoring list? I don't think there's a whole lot of strategies to stop him, or teams would have, been embracing that by now.
Right. Well, I heard back in the day you dominated 21, didn't you?
Back in the day? What are we talking, 12 hours ago?
Oh, wow. So you're in a tournament right now?
I go to 24 Hour Fitness at about midnight every night, and there's usually 1 or 2 guys there. It's the same guys every time, and neither of them are very good or over 5'9".
So you're the Kobe Bryant of that.
But I have a 55% winning percentage, so I think that's pretty good.
Wow.
It's pretty solid.
Yeah.
Now, even with Portland doing well, I was reading some of their comments in regards to this game, where their whole feeling of that they're kind of being casted under the radar and not given their early due. Do you sense much of that?
That's another one of those things where I'm just kind of tired of hearing. I think there was I can't remember, there's a guy named Paul Oberjurgi, I'm not sure if you remember him. He used to be the sports editor at the San Bernardino Sun, and I was hearing, stories from some of his old writers who said that he put a moratorium on writing about quote-unquote respect and teams not getting their respect. I literally feel like there can be an 81-1 team in the NBA who goes, nobody thought we could do it. I just feel like everybody finds someone who says that they can't do it, and they sort of use it as a motivation, and everybody feels a little bit oppressed. Now, however, that being said, I do think Portland probably gets lost in the shuffle as any small market team without that super marketable superstar would. It's a little bit like Denver post Carmelo last year, who surged to 17-5 after he traded, as I've said already. Or even like maybe like the Detroit Pistons of a few years ago with Rip Hamilton and Chauncey Billups and Rasheed Wallace, who ended up taking on the Lakers with a similar roster to what Portland had, probably a little deeper and a little bit better, but one of those teams that nobody was really talking about preseason, and all of a sudden came together. So if Portland has any chance to do anything, they're going to have to, I think, take on a similar strategy and say, all right, it may not be me tonight, it might be you tonight, it might be this guy tonight, it might be our bench. I don't know, but in terms of that, yeah, people aren't talking about Portland the way they are the Clippers or those other high-profile teams, but I do think they're dangerous.
Well, I know you gamble a lot in Vegas, so who would you put your money on?
My sponsors told me not to talk about gambling anymore, so I think I got to stop.
Oh, you're on a gag order? You're not allowed to give predictions anymore?
Are you talking about tomorrow or for the season?
Oh, I'm talking about Thursday night.
Thursday night. I'm gonna go with the Blazers. I like what they've been doing lately. I like what I've been seeing out of them. And given the Lakers' struggle at the Rose Garden, I'm gonna stick with Portland.
Wow. So how's that all go down?
How did that all go down?
Yeah.
You want to play by play?
How does this play out? I mean, all
right, 7 seconds in, Raymond Felton misses a jumper.
I don't mean for you to give me the play-by-play.
Oh, okay. I was going to give you the whole version. I was going to give you the whole breakdown. I'm going with no answer for Gerald Wallace. That's my prediction. I'm going Gerald Wallace 20-10.
Wow. So Meta World Peace doesn't stand a chance, huh?
Nope. He does not.
Wow. He probably should have changed his name back to Ron Artest. That might have helped him.
I think so. It's not really the most intimidating thing, is it? It'd sort of be like Shane Battier, like changing his name to like Nuclear Destruction. You know what I mean? I'm not sure it really fits with Ron, but I don't know.
Now, you wrote that column that I cited earlier about, the fact that you just hold these Portland fans in such high esteem because of their ability to break down efficiency ratings. I was very intrigued with the fact that column, you kind of mentioned the conflicting sentiments about Brandon Roy and, the tough season that he had last year with his injuries and his frustration, and how, even though we're not much far removed from that, the general public still almost waxed nostalgic about that, since more time's been removed, being able to get a sense of, how fans are viewing Roy's retirement.
Yeah, well, I'm pretty sure that column ran, if it's the one that I'm thinking of, it ran the morning that he announced his retirement without anybody knowing that he was going to retire. So it's pretty much the most irrelevant article I've ever written. However, people last year, it seemed like, I shouldn't say last year, but in the off season, kind of let Brandon Roy get away with murder. I mean, he complained incessantly 3 different times, about the system, about his point guard, and just really kind of came off a little childish. Now, you have to give him somewhat of the benefit of the doubt because he was such a stand-up guy, such a class act, really was the individual turning point for this franchise. and he basically lost, his knees, and he couldn't excel the way he wanted to. It wasn't about the money to him. I think it was about winning a championship. So you can expect some sort of behavioral change, and I think Portland fans kind of gave him the benefit of the doubt for that. But when he retired, I think people kind of wiped that clean. People kind of forgot about last year, and I think it's okay. I think that's okay that they did that, because when you look back at Brandon Roy's career, he really was special here. And if he shows up to a game on Thursday, if he shows up to the game or whenever he does, and they do a little Brandon Roy compilation, and then the cameraman zeroes in on him and he's on the Jumbotron, people are going to stand and cheer, and they're not going to sit down regardless if the game starts or not. I mean, he is probably the most beloved individual in the city of Portland right now. So, yeah, people love him here. It was heartbreaking for him. And they kind of knew he was gone, but it's kind of like, if your girlfriend doesn't call you back for a couple of weeks, you probably know where it stands in the relationship. But when she actually breaks up with you, that's painful. That's what it was like for Portland fans. They knew he would never be the same. But when he retired, it was like, that was a gut check. It's official. They kind of abandoned hope of him ever becoming the player he was again. So that's been tough for him, but I think this recent wave of success has helped mollify the pain.
Those are the thoughts of the Columbian Blazers beat writer Matt Calkins. Thanks for coming on. It's been a pleasure.
Always, man. Love that theme music.